Hey guys, it's Brian. Thank you for joining me on my deck profile today. It's my first video ever on YouTube for showcasing any decks, and I do want to thank you guys for being here. Today I'm going to show you my Danger Shaddoll deck profile. This deck profile I came up with ever since I've heard of the Danger archetype, and when I saw how they reacted for the first time. I'm with other card effects like Dark World and Burning Abyss. Since the sending was not cost, I immediately knew Shaddoll would work with the deck in some way or fashion, and actually came up with two variations of the Danger Shaddoll deck. Today I will showcase the Rescue Cat version, and tomorrow hopefully I'll be able to showcase the Star Seraph version of the deck. But at the moment, let's go ahead and focus on this deck. And first off, we have a total of 9 danger cards, I believe. Yes, 3 Bigfoot. Bigfoot is mainly your boss monster, and it's the best card going second, because normally when you're going second with this deck, because this is a go first or second, but preferably you would go first with this deck. But with this deck, you're going to go ahead and summon Bigfoot at turn 1, and it's a great play because if you do not happen to go ahead and summon the card, you'll be able to pop a face-up card that's on the field. And normally, in most cases, your opponent will have face-up cards on the field. We have the one Chupacabra. Again, this is a better going second card, since you will be reviving. If by any chance it's discarded, you will be able to go ahead and revive most likely either a Bigfoot or a Nessie. Mothman is good in the deck for added consistency. I would only recommend playing one at the moment, because Mothman gives your opponent a card and discard, and so I personally just do not want to give my opponent cards. So that's the main reason why I do use this card in the deck, to just go ahead and filter through cards in case I have an emergency where I really can't have any other cards from my draw engine, and I don't really want to get rid of, let's say for example, a Rescue Cat at the moment, which is another reason why I'm not running anything like Dark World Dealings, because this card is pretty much the same effect and it has a body. Next we have 3 Nessie. Nessie is just a great card because it's a 2800 booty, and not only that, since it's a level 7, you can go into certain rank 7 plays, and at the very worst, that's your worst option because it is a searcher for all of your danger engine, and you really can't go wrong with the searcher unless the card that you search for does nothing. Lastly, we have Jackalope to round out the danger monsters. Jackalope is mainly an option for just summoning out an extra body in case you don't get a draw or your hand is pretty bad and you just need to go ahead and go through the deck. It's better mid to late game. If you've been breaking a lot in the beginning, this is a good option to go ahead and get your deck going, but it's better in the mid game because that way you can go ahead and pop up a random Saryuja, Curious, or even Minerva if it's necessary. Next we have Electromagnetic Turtle. This is one of the better Shaddoll fusion targets, but it's also a great danger option, since you never know what cards you're going to get with the dangers off the top deck. But this card essentially just lets you survive another turn. In case you don't want to lose your monsters, you can always banish it if you don't want to take the damage. If you want to go ahead and just have an additional turn to think about what you can do, this is a great option to have as not only a concert target, but just a random discard target in case you are able to go ahead and summon your danger monster. Next we have the rescue cat targets for Nappies, which is Elephant and Pero Cerberus. Pero is a great option for Shaddoll Fusion in as well, since Shekinaga does require an Earth monster. If you really need something as a backup plan to make sure that you can get rid of some problematic cards if your opponent forgets about the card, right, in your graveyard, the only con to this is that you have to take damage for that effect to take place. But at the very least, since this activates in the damage step, unless your opponent has a counter or a counter trap, there's no way that they can avoid this during the damage step. And the reason why I chose Elephant as a tuner is because, for example, if you have a Pero that was banished because of its own effect, if this card is destroyed by battle to the graveyard for whatever reason you bricked, you can always recover a Pero to your hand. That way you always have a discard fodder and Shaddoll Fusion target. The next card we have is Phantom Sky Blaster. Phantom Sky Blaster is mainly your go-to for rank 4 plays. Because if you have, let's say for example, 2 danger monsters of different names, and you have Phantom Sky Blaster in your hand, as long as the effect goes through, you will be able to go ahead and summon a couple of tokens at the very minimum, and because it is one token per monster. If you have a monster in your extra monster zone and one in your main monster zone, and you happen to summon this, you will pretty much fill up your field with Phantom Sky Blaster and its tokens. And that would be able to lead you to either Curious, Summon Sorceress, depending on the case, but mainly that is used for Saryuja. Saryuja will go ahead and help you unbrick your hand, and or make sure you have cards to discard, or for example you're trying to dig for a Shaddoll Fusion in as the best example. And it's also good as a going second target, especially in the mid game, since we do side evenly matched, to go ahead and make sure that we have cards to defend ourselves. Next, we have 2 Rescue Cat. Rescue Cat is mainly for having a Nap Beast each turn 1, but it also gives you monsters for Saryuja as well. So I would, in my opinion, go ahead and summon the Rescue Cat, and always with Elephant and Pero, unless you want to make sure that you have that in your hand later on. And you can always summon out the Raikos or even Jackalope itself, since it is a beast monster that is level 3 or lower. Next we have the 2 Raiko. Raiko not only helps you mill cards, because you do want to have some of these cards in your graveyard by sending them instead of just discarding them. So for example, Electromagnetic Turtle and Pero, those are good backup options, especially since you're sending them in the damage step. So your opponent really doesn't have a way of just not allowing you to mill unless they can negate the effect with a strike or something. After that, we have our Shaddoll Beast, and our Shaddoll engine is very big compared to what most decks are looking for nowadays for a Shaddoll engine. So you have 2 Beast, 2 Skomata, and then 1 Dragon, Falco, and Hedgehog. The reason behind this is Skomata and Beast are going to help you dig through your cards. Hedgehog, yes, it does help for you adding a monster, or if you're desperate and you have, let's say for example, a way of surviving and you want to just have it attacked into, so you can search a Shaddoll Fusion or El Shaddoll Fusion. that's also a good option, but I do not feel like running more than one of this card is absolutely necessary, since you don't need to have Shaddolls in your hand all the time. Same thing with Falco. Falco is great as a reviver, since it's going to bring it back itself, and you can use the effect the next turn, or if you would like to go ahead and just bring back a Shaddoll Beast to help you go through your cards and still have some defense, that's also good as well. Same thing with Dragon. Dragon, I only run one, since not a lot of people are playing back row, and even though the compulse effect is good in certain matchups, it's kind of slow, so I would rather use the normal summoner set for other options, but this is a good beat stick if it's necessary, since it is 1900. Next, for our other draw cards, we have 3 of Lure of Darkness. Most of your deck is dark, so there should be no problem finding one at any moment. And even if you draw, let's say for example, a Pero, it's a card you want in the grave anyway, so you're not going to be really complaining that much. Now, the most explosive card in the deck, Card Destruction, which is, in my opinion, an absolute necessity in the Danger archetype, since it allows you to just go ahead and in a going second just blow up on your opponent with any of the few cards that are there. And it also helps you go through your cards, because Shaddolls do activate in this situation, where you, if for example you have a Nessie and a Beast and you draw 2, this card will not be a -1, but actually be a +1, because not only are you drawing the 2 cards that you're discarding, but you're going to go ahead and recover the Card Destruction and add a card with the search and draw effects. Next, we have 1 copy of El Shaddoll Fusion. The reason why I only have 1 is because it's good to have as a quick play spell, to just really screw over your opponent with Winda, especially in Thunder Dragons if you happen to just go first with the deck. But also, I couldn't fit the card with one of the cards that we're going to bring into in a little bit, which would be Super Poly. Foolish Burial, great card for the deck, since it allows you to enable your Shaddoll engine, and at the very worst it can turn into an MST for Shaddoll Dragon, or just to upstart using Squamata and Beast, taking out 2 cards from your deck. But you can also send your Electromagnetic Turtle for just protection entering your next turn, or a Pero just to threaten your opponent to don't cause damage to you if they don't want to lose something important on their field. One of my favorite cards in the deck, but not my favorite to run multiples of, is Mass Change Second, because this enables your Shaddolls as well, and allows you to trigger a danger at the same time. So you will be able to go ahead and choose the order of which one you would like to go ahead and resolve first. But depending on your opponent's plays, you know which one you want to go ahead and make sure. If you want to bait out the Ash, for example, you would put the Danger as a second chain link, so that way they can't Ash the first target. If, for example, let's say you have a Hedgehog and a Beast in hand, you would go ahead, normal summon Hedgehog, Mass Change Second, and you would discard your Danger, and send Hedgehog to the grave, summon out Darklaw, and then you would organize the chain order from there. Monster Reborn, because you will go through a lot of your deck, and Construct is only a 1 sadly, so we have to protect it as long as we can. Three Shaddoll Fusion. This is the absolute best card if you're going second, apart from Super Poly, because this pretty much ensures that you have advantage turn 1 unless they play something like Imperial Order. Secret Village if you don't open up a spellcaster, but mainly Imperial Order, and that's why we do like having 3 Danger Bigfoot, so that we can go ahead and just pop those kinds of cards without having to go through any of the other resources. Super Poly is great, especially if you like to go ahead and tweak the extra deck for, let's say for example, in this case Thunder Dragons is somewhat of a tricky matchup, but you can go ahead and just Super Poly into, let's say, another Titan for yourself, since they pretty much will have the materials on the field for you. I have one upstart, but this can really be any card that you feel gives you an advantage. Could be an extra Mass Change second, could be a Glow Up Bulb, could be another Jackalope. That's pretty much like a blank card. We're pretty much trying to run 39 and 40 cards to keep the consistency of the deck. Danger Zone, is only took that 1 because this is a great not only draw card, but this is also an enabler for your deck. So it does help that you're discarding the dangers on your opponent's turn. That way you can go ahead and disrupt them in any way. And lastly, we have a Solemn Judgment, because Judgment just goes well in anything. Now for our extra deck, we're going to go ahead and start off with El Shaddoll Construct. Thank you, Konami. Thank you for bringing this card back. When I came back to playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in around 2013-2014, my favorite deck, no matter how the format slightly changed ever since Duelist Alliance, was Shaddoll's, and Construct was the main reason why. Being able to just go through your deck like crazy, and being able to have an effect that destroys any special summon monster without really going through the battle is very helpful in certain matchups. Next we have Shekinaga. Shekinaga is somewhat of a tricky card, but this is a good defensive monster, and so sorry about that. It's a great defensive monster since we have 3,000 defense and we have multiple targets for the card, especially since we are running Rescue Cat. Sometimes it could be a brick and we can just get rid of one with a Shaddoll Fusion. That way it's not a wasted card in our deck. 2 Winda, because Winda enables everything, and it also is a break for your, like an emergency break for your opponent. It's to force them to stop. Unless they can get rid of Winda, they won't be able to go ahead and make any good plays. Next, Darklaw. Darklaw is great in certain matches like BA, where they are trying to go through their deck, and going turn 1 with this card stops them from making any Dante plays and wanting to summon any monster from their hand to the field. Well, because they don't want to go ahead and lose them, especially Seer and Graph. We have a tech, Mud Dragon of the Swamp. Mud Dragon of the Swamp is mainly used for decks that have different types, since you can't really use Gozen Match in this deck, or Rivalry. So this is just a good option for, or instead of using Rivalry, you have a Super Poly target to just get rid of monsters on your opponent's field. So I really like this card, especially since it is level 4. At the very worst, you can use this for Minerva or any Shaddoll Fusion. In that way you do not have any losses, is for any cards that you use. We have the Black Rose because we do have a Falco and Winda, and pretty much Winda and any level 2 tuner. In this case we run 2, which is Falco and Elephant, which are both searchable in the deck in one sense or another. or since one can be brought directly to the field and the other one can be added to the hand, it is a good option for blowing up your opponent's field. Although this can be substituted with Moonlight Rose, since Thunder Dragons will have an issue going through it. Next we have Nappies. As I stated before, if you draw a Rescue Cat turn 1, this is a great card to go ahead and use turn 1, especially since Strikers still are one of the most popularly played decks at the moment. This pretty much just says, no, you can't play it all, and we're going to game 2, unless they have a random Kaiju main deck. Minerva is here to help you go through your cards, and since we do run 2 Raikos, if by any chance we do go ahead and hit one of the Raikos, we will be able to draw a card and still gain some more advantage, and that way we can have more discard fodder or any other fusion targets. Next we have our 2 rank 7s, which are Big Eye and Red Flare Metal Dragon. So Big Eye is just to take a problematic monster. Red Eye is pretty much just to pretty much screw with your opponent if they have multiple effects that they have to activate. Well, that's embarrassing. Alright, so apparently what happens is I took too long, but like I was saying, Red Flare Metal Dragon is pretty much just an option for especially mid to late game, where you want to make sure your opponent goes through make sure they are whittling down their life points and have a better opportunity to win for you, since cards like Instant Fusion late game aim does happen, and so you want to punish them for any late game plays, for any random mishaps they have happened and gone through. Next we have Curious. Most of our monsters are dark, but the dangers are all different types. So, for the most part, see for example, we have Beasts in Bigfoot and Jackalope, Nessie's Aqua, a Mothman's an Insect, and Chupacabra's a Fiend. But we also have our Shaddoll, which are all spellcasters. So, with that being said, if you do summon Curious, it is a great card to really screw with your opponent, because not only when you link summon, it will allow you to mill. If you send Skomata, you will be able to mill up to 5 cards from your deck, because not only will Skomata trigger, Curious is trigger for its own effect does occur. So in case you don't send a Beast with the Skomata, you will be able to send it with the Skomata, and that way you can make sure you get another card, which will make it a +5. Oh, sorry, +2 with the monster that you use for it. Next we have Lamphalinkus. This can be changed with Witch's Apprentice, but based on the way that certain games into late game, Rescue Cat can at least get you a Lamphalinkus, so that way you can try to get multiple fusions on the field or multiple extra deck monsters on the field. So I would rather have Lamphalinkus to at least allow me the option to go into multiple cards, instead of Witch's Apprentice, which is forcing me to make sure I have 2 dark monsters. Next we have Saryuja. Saryuja is great, especially going in second, or actually even going first, because one of the craziest boards I was ever able to make with this deck on turn 1 was Saryuja, Naturia Beast, and a Winda, and then on my opponent's turn I had El Shaddoll Fusion, and I made Construct on my opponent's turn. And so that would just depend on the random hand that you have at the moment. But mainly, to get a Saryuja and a Nap Beast on turn 1, you just have to make sure that none of the monsters that you have to make Saryuja were normal summon. Because most of the time, that normal summon is so important in the sense where, let's say for example, you need Phantom Sky Blaster, and Phantom Sky Blaster is the exception to this rule, since you want to go ahead and continue to extend into your other plays, because you do have flip monsters which are annoying to your opponent, knowing that it's there and you will be able to activate during your next turn, so they have to deal with it right away. And lastly, Summon Sorceress. This is just to make sure that you're annoying the shit out of your opponent by making into another Minerva or Big Eye or Flare Metal. This is just mainly as an extender. My side deck here is pretty much just a generic I deck. This can be changed in any way, but the main card that we are going to emphasize is the Evenly Matched. In my opinion, this is a good card going second for this deck, even though you have a chance to discard it. And the main reason why is because if you discard it, it causes an alert for your opponent that they have to watch out for, and they may be able to go ahead and slow down to not risk losing certain cards. Or if you happen to draw turn 1 and your opponent is playing a bunch of cards that are problematic, you just go ahead, enter battle phase, Evenly Matched, and then just go off. But for the rest of the cards, Drowning Mirror Force for stuff like, let's say, a True Draco. There are moments where you're going to be stuck. This also helps if you happen to have a Titan negated, that way it just really screws over any Thunder Dragon players. Twin Twister for Altergeist. The Spear Mode for any mass summoning decks. Call by the Grave for any graveyard decks. And if you're going first, Vanity's Fiend is a great option. That way you really are locking out your opponent of making any good plays until they can get rid of this. Anyways, that's the deck profile. I do want to thank you guys for your time. Please make sure to give a like and comment and subscribe. And hopefully we can go ahead and go through the Shaddoll deck tomorrow. But I do want to thank you guys for your time. See ya.